Hey, this is CatsMeow492, and we're going to do a quick indicator spotlight on one of my personal favorite indicators for scalping. It is called the KDJ. Now, what is the KDJ? The KDJ is essentially just the stochastic oscillator with an additional J-line. Now, why is that a big deal? Well, the J-line measures the convergence and divergence of the K and D lines, which is surprisingly helpful when you're trying to identify, one, the convergence of a particular trend, which I'll go over in a minute, and two, the rate of change in overbought and oversold. It just makes it all the more obvious. And when you're watching like 20 charts at the same time, which I do, and you're trying to scalp on the 1 minute, you need something to identify the rate of change at a glance without having to stare at the stochastic oscillator for more than like 10 seconds. You try to figure out where it's going. The extra J line just makes it so much more obvious. Another great thing about it is, first of all, it's a leading indicator, so it gives you insight into what might happen next, which is amazing for identifying breakouts. And then two, it functions a lot like the RSI in that it tells you when the market is overbought and oversold. So it's essentially just the RSI on steroids. It's even better than the stochastic. So let's get over how it might be used in a particular situation. Going over to Webull, looking at our 1 minute chart, which is what I use the KDJ on almost all the time. I use it sometimes for long-term trends, but on 1 minute, that's really KDJ's bread and butter. So you can see when it trends overbought and oversold. You'll find yourself a lot of times when you use the RSI, you'll try to buy at positions or times when it's oversold, and you'll find that even the RSI is signaling just a little bit too late. What's nice about this KDJ having the J line is you don't even have to wait till it's trending toward oversold. If you're really trying to scalp in like fractions of a second, what you're looking for is just changing the direction of this purple line. So hypothetically, coming here, you could have bought at this next candle, right? As soon as that closed, maybe in the next candle if you're a more careful trader, and you would have bought at a good time to scalp this is just a little bounce up. And then if you're still trading on the J line, you might have sold a little bit early here, but oftentimes when you're scalping, you're not trying to get the most value out of the trades. You're just trying to consistently hit those little changes in price. So you can see if you're just trading on the movement of this J line, you do all right. Just looking for micro changes in the convergence or divergence of essentially the stochastic oscillator is what we're doing. The other nice thing about the KDJ line is because it measures this convergence and divergence between K and D on like the stochastic oscillator, it tends to scale this subchart a little bit differently and makes it really obvious when the market is converging the market is converging on a certain price. And why is that important? Well, the market likes to have kind of a wide price level that it can trade in. When it converges too much, there tends to be these big breakouts, which traders who aren't looking at technical analysis always find themselves completely taken by surprise by. Now, if you're using technical analysis, and specifically the KDJ, you'll find yourself in a position where you're never really surprised about breakouts again. Now, what do I mean about convergence in the KDJ? Well, if you look at this, right, we have these big waves up, we have another smaller wave up, we have an additional even smaller wave up, now we get a tiny bit bigger, and now smaller, and now almost imperceptibly small. What that means is that the distance between overbought and oversold is getting so small that the scalpers are almost completely out of the equation. And there's always this balance between scalpers, trend traders, and swing traders. So when there's convergence like this, the scalpers are stepping out of the equation, waiting for a trend to actually happen. While as the swing traders and the weekly traders are looking for entries for their long-term positions, right? So this looks like a good spot for potential swing traders to enter. Now, KDJ doesn't really give you any information as to whether it's going to break out or up, but if you're managing your positions correctly, which I will do a video on later, and later I will put a tile on that video on this video. if you're managing your positions correctly, you can literally flip a coin on whether it goes up or down. It doesn't matter. In this particular scenario, I'd probably say it's going up just because it's been going down. I'd say maybe 55% of the time the breakout is in the opposite direction of the micro trend. But you can literally flip a coin. It doesn't matter, 50-50. And if you're managing your stop losses correctly, it is profitable to just coin flip breakouts. So let's look at what happened right after KDJ converges almost entirely. So we broke up. You could have flipped a coin there and made money. And if you're trading on the KDJ, you would have probably entered right when this fully converged. You would have bought when the KDJ broke up, and look at that. Now with these swing trades, with these breakout trades, what I like to do is I like to trail with a stop afterwards and just kind of ride it out instead of just trading the minute the J line goes down. So hypothetically, if I was using my stops correctly, I probably would have sold out about here and then found another entry when the J line again started to move in a different direction or level off or something like that. So I probably would have rebought around here, would have done the same thing, trailed with my stops, and you can see how this is like a free money strategy. This is like my favorite indicator for scalping and trading on the 1 minute. All right, so I hope that helps understand the KDJ and how you can work it into your strategy. There are other ways to use the KDJ. I probably don't even know. But in general, as a trader, you just want to use the indicators, find a way to make them work for you, and then just stick to what you're good at. This is what I'm good at. I highly recommend you try this indicator and maybe work my strategy into your strategy somehow. Thanks for watching.